Good morning. Welcome to your program, Your Agenda here on Cignal TV, One News Channels 8 and 250. I'm your host, Cito Beltran. Nagpapasalamat po. Thanking you for joining us once again today. And of course, for being subscribers of Cignal TV. We hope that you will continue to share the benefits and the good reviews you have of Cignal TV. And of course, maraming salamat. Thank you to those of you who also follow the program agenda via Facebook, on YouTube, and of course, the Cignal Play app. Pati na rin, those who watch our replays, maraming salamat. I was just having dinner with a colleague that I had not seen for several years, okay, because of the pandemic. And he was telling me that he would watch either the live program or the replay. So maraming salamat. And speaking of gratitude, thank you to PLDT Home Fiber Optic Internet for their continued provision of internet services. And like I always say, that is not a paid endorsement. That is not a commercial. I simply want all of you to know that as far as my experience is concerned, I've always had good services and signal with PLDT Home Fiber Optic Internet. Of course, you know, in any place, as I wrote in my article the other day, I said the grass is greener, not. Marami kasi sa atin, we tend to think that in the modern world or in the first world countries, life is perfect and their internet connectivity is perfect. Well, it's not. According to my daughter, Hannah, she said, the countryside is the countryside anywhere in the world. And she was referring to the fact na kung sa probinsya, if in the provinces we have poor signals, the same is experienced even in the highly technologically advanced Germany. Kasi kahit sa tren, nawawala raw po yung signal and in small towns. Anyway, let's start our day with our daily starter, and it is from the financial guru, financial advisor, Dave Ramsey, and you should follow him on Facebook. You cannot win the Kentucky Derby with a donkey. Okay, anong ibig pong sabihin ni Dave Ramsey? If you want to excel, if you want to win in competition, if you want to win in an election, or if you want to have great business or be competitive in business, you have to make sure that you are not running as an underdog. Yes, you can be small, you can be a starter, but you need to realize, you need to be aware that you must be competitive. Kasi meron po dyan, there are people who from the very start, their mindset is already like that of a donkey. Unteachable, untrainable, their hearts are hard, etc. They're not willing to learn. That is the mindset of a donkey. He will just follow if he is fed or he is whipped or pinahihirapan. So the thing that Dave Ramsey was saying is your mindset has to be correct. And of course, your plan has to be excellent and your team has to be good, if not excellent. Hindi po kayo mananalo sa FIBA kung ang iyong team ay pang barangay lang. Ha? Sabi nga nung isang kakilala ko, it cannot be all about puso. We also have to have puwersa. Okay, so that is what Dave Ramsey is saying. You cannot win in the Kentucky Derby, which is considered one of the most competitive and respected horse races in the world, with a donkey. Okay, let's go to the front page of the Philippine Star for a quick review. The front page headline: Government mulls environment case versus China over corals. Okay, the Philippines is considering filing a new complaint against China before the International Tribunal following the reported harvesting and destruction of corals in the disputed West Philippine Sea. Okay, at the top of the front page, the header, independent probe sought on case of 2 activists who were reported missing, who were declared a surrendery, and who declared or claimed to have been kidnapped. The group Karapatan called for an independent investigation of all parties involved. Meanwhile, Sandigan affirms dismissal of forfeiture case versus Ferdinand Marcos Sr. and Imelda. The Sandigan Bayan has upheld its earlier decision dismissing another forfeiture case filed by the PCGG against the late dictator Ferdinand Marcos, his widow Imelda, and their cronies. To the right of the upper portion of the Philippine Star, members of the Panday Sining Artist Group put finishing touches on a mural at the Bantayog ng mga Bayani in Quezon City ahead of the 51st commemoration of the Declaration of Martial Law, which is today. I do hope and pray that every Filipino will take time to say a prayer. Regardless of your politics, your situation, please say a prayer in the spirit of national interest that God would forgive all of us and bless our nation. Meanwhile, Pogo ban gains support in the Senate. 10 of 18 members of the Senate Ways and Means Committee have signed the committee report recommending the ban of Philippine offshore gaming operations, or POGOs. Okay. Then, lawmakers vow to pass Marcos priority bills. Okay. According to the House of Congress and according to the Presidential Communications Secretary Cheloy Garafil, Congress has committed to enact both houses of Congress are on track for the December passage of the 20 priority measures requested by President Bongbong Marcos, particularly the budget. And that huge photo in the center of the Philippine Star today is a photo of over 17,000 volunteers across 15 SM malls in 12 locations nationwide, helping create waves of positive change with the biggest haul of trash collected at 100,432.50 kilos during the 38th International Coastal Cleanup last September 16. Medyo luma na pero congratulations pa rin. Meanwhile, police stations will have cybercrime desks soon. Taking proactive measure to address cybercrimes, police stations across the country will soon have cybercrime desks according to the anti-cybercrime group. Okay, and to the right of the front page, ito po, this is embarrassing. DOTR probes NAIA screener who swallowed stolen $300. Closed-circuit television footage at the NAIA Terminal 1 shows an employee of the Office for Transportation Security swallowing $300 bills allegedly stolen from a departing Chinese passenger. At right, the OTS screener walks away while covering her mouth with a handkerchief. So, ayan po, we don't know how this thing will turn out, but this is yet again an embarrassment to the country and to Philippine tourism when the people who are supposed to secure the NAIA and its passengers from terrorists and criminals have become criminals. Matagal na pong problema iyang grupo na yan sa NAIA. So that's all we have. And let's now go for a quick break and we will continue with our program where we will tackle the price of fuel, the impact of the price of fuel on our daily lives, as well as the proposal, tanggalin na, remove the excise tax at least for 3 months. We will discuss that on agenda.
seems like there's no stopping the rise in oil prices amid the 11th straight week of price increases. On Monday, the House of Representatives held a meeting with oil industry players to explore potential solutions such as the 3-month suspension of excise tax on fuel. However, Finance Secretary Ben Jokno cautioned against this, emphasizing the negative impact it would have on the economy. The DOF estimated that the suspension of fuel excise tax could lead to a substantial revenue loss of around 72.6 billion pesos in the fourth quarter alone. And should this continue for a year, Jokno says the country will lose about 280.5 billion pesos in revenue. Jokno also said cutting taxes will only benefit the top 10% of households, which consume 49% of total fuel. With this, the DOF chief said offering targeted subsidies for those most impacted by high fuel prices, like jeepney drivers, farmers, and fisherfolk, is still the best solution at this stage. Let's discuss this matter further on today's agenda.
Attorney Terry Ridon is the convener of the local think tank Infrawatch PH. He previously served as a lawmaker at the lower house of Congress representing the Kabataan party list. Ridon was also chairperson and CEO of Presidential Commission for the Urban Poor from 2016 to 2017.
Good morning, Attorney Ridon. Welcome back to the program agenda.
Good morning, Cito. Thank you for having me again.
Okay, and the team invited you because I think you were the first to issue a strong statement supporting the suspension of the excise tax on fuel. Could you share your thoughts on this problem? Because based on what you heard in the intro, Secretary of Finance Ben Jokno would have us believe that only 10% of the Philippine population would benefit from that suggestion.
Well, I think first of all, we fully support House Speaker Ferdinand Martin Romualdez in his unprecedented intervention. At no time in history has a House Speaker intervened on the issue of oil prices. And I think this is one of the major reasons why there is such excitement at the possibility that for the first time, petroleum prices will have its excise tax, or at the very best, VAT, value-added tax, suspended because of this push from Congress. And I think at the basis of this is very clear. We are an oil importing country, and we are basically at the mercy of a global oil prices. And I think it is very important for government to basically intervene to stop getting taxes from petroleum products and make sure that oil prices continue to be affordable to a great number of Filipino families that are dependent on affordable oil prices in proceeding with their day-to-day activities.
I think this goes beyond affordability. Hindi ito usapang pera-pera lang. First of all, you were a former congressman, and is it correct for me to say, and I've written about this, that if members of Congress are already talking about this problem, then chances are their constituents or their constituency are all complaining and are already hurting?
Well, we had seen the run of the news, The people that had been complaining about it are not just truck drivers. These are not just jeepney drivers. These are not just Grab or Angkas riders, Even middle class, lower middle class people that have their own vehicles had stopped using their vehicles. And I think we had seen lighter traffic in EDSA precisely because those that cannot afford to have cars to run their cars today are opting to undertake public transport. So ibig sabihin, yung mga dating sumasakay ng sasakyan nila, they are crowding into the buses, they're crowding into the MRT. So I think it basically puts everyone in a real quandary simply because the Department of Finance and the economic team is objecting to the removal of excise taxes and value-added taxes on petroleum products.
Okay, now the scenario is Martin Romualdez, Speaker Romualdez said kahit na 3 months, even if it's just for 3 months, let's give people some breathing space, etc. But the fact is Russia and I can't remember the other country, but they've already Saudi Arabia, the Middle East and the petroleum bloc and Russia have already agreed and decided that they will continue raising the prices of fuel. So, a 3-month solution is not going to be 3 months. It will have to be for a longer term.
I think to be perfectly clear, I think what the Congress is contemplating in that 3-month scenario is that for this particular period, oil prices in the global market will remain elevated. But I think the proposal to remove excise taxes and value-added taxes on petroleum products is not time dependent. It is essentially dependent on the fluctuation of global oil prices. So similar to what had been undertaken under the previous government's train law. So the suspension of excise taxes will dependent on a particular number, a particular price of global oil pricing. So it can be pegged at $80 per barrel. Today, It is around more than $90 per barrel in the global world market. So either the executive or Congress will make a determination on what the actual threshold will be on when excise taxes will be suspended or when excise taxes will be reduced.
Well, Terry, I'm going to say this in Tagalog for the benefit of our non-English speakers. Gumawa ng batas ang gobyerno, yung tinatawag mong train law, nagpataw sila ng buwis, and sabi nila, basta $80 below ang value ng langis, mayroong tax. Pag lumampas dyan, kailangan alisin muna yung tax na yon. But there is no real authority, walang mechanism o pamaraan, walang automatic adjustment. Pati nga dun sa presyo ng pamasahe. Matagal ko nang sinasabi, ano ba naman, mathematics lang yan. Kailangan nyo lang gawin na pag ganito ang presyo, ganito ang pamasahe. Pero dito aabutin ng 6 na buwan bago magka-hearing. So would it be correct to say the law is a bad law? We shouldn't just be talking about a 3-month suspension of the excise tax. We should just, erase that law and come up with something better, because I have to call it. Niloloko tayo ng batas na yan.
Well, I think to be perfectly fair, what we are calling today is, firstly, if the president can undertake executive action to suspend excise taxes and VAT on petroleum products, he should be able to do so. So siyempre sasabihin ng economic team, boss, wala tayong batas para dyan. Pero the president has all the leeway to make real policy to impact the lives of the people. Particularly, we had seen it in rice. So there's no reason for the president not to do it for petroleum products. Yun yung first. But if they will reject it, I think Congress can do it. So if Congress was able to pass very particular priority bills like the Maharlika Investment Fund into law in a very short time, I think they will still be able to do this in an expedited manner in the next couple of months.
Terry, what is really at stake here? Because everybody is making it political PR points, political issue that the government won't have money and we will suffer, etc. But in the real life of Filipinos, ano ba ang nawawala because of the unrestrained rise in fuel prices?
Well, I'd like to be perfectly clear. Our study on the removal of VAT and excise taxes and petroleum products has been there even in the previous administration. Kasi naranasan na ho natin yan noong panahon ni Pangulong Duterte, sumipa din ho ng ganito kataas. But the real impact of removing excise taxes and VAT on petroleum products today at very high prices would be a 25% reduction in the prices of petroleum products. Ibig sabihin, kung 70 pesos per liter po yung gasolina, babagsak po yan to 52 pesos, 52.5 pesos per liter. Ibig sabihin, tinanggal mo yung 10 piso na excise tax per liter, tinanggal mo po yung 12% na karga doon po sa presyo po ng produktong petrolyo. So,
Hindi pa
malaki
kasali Terry yung 6 pesos for bioethanol.
malaking bagay. Tama po yun. At malaking bagay ho yun. Kasi ang pinag-usapan na natin dito, 20 pesos per liter, almost 20 pesos per liter na savings, no? Na mapupunta ho sa ibang mga necessities ng atin pong mga kababayan. Sinasabi po ng economic team, alam po ninyo mga mayayaman po yung makikinabang po rito, pero hindi ho nila pinapaliwanag. Pyramid ho yung lipunan ho natin eh. Hindi ho ba? So,
exactly.
for every mayaman, ilan ho yung middle class, lower middle class na mamasukan ng sasakyan na sobrang apektado na ho ng napakataas na presyo ng petrol.
But isn't that intellectual?
Malaking bilang ho yun. So, wag ho natin bulahin. Wag ho natin bulahin yung mga kababayan ho natin na mayayaman lang ho yung mga nakinabang, mga sa village lang. Yung mga naka-SUV lang ho yung makikinabang ho rito. Kasi makikinabang din po rito yung mga maliliit na namamasukan na talagang tinatamaan na ho at nararamdaman po yung crush nito pong mataas na presyo ng produktong petrolyo.
Yeah, Terry, hindi ba intellectual dishonesty? Isn't that intellectual dishonesty on the part of the DOF to claim that this is only going to favor the rich? Because, you know, tricycle drivers use gasoline. Logistics company na nagde-deliver ng ating mga container vans na merong mga parts, mga resources, mga vegetables, etc. Lahat gumagamit ng crudo, gumagamit ng gasolina, pero ang binibigyan lang naman nila ng ayuda are transport operators and the fisher folks daw. But largely you get to go out. This ayuda, is it really making a difference in the life of every Filipino? Kasi parang political na naman eh. Para wag lang umingay yung mga commuter, wag lang umingay yung mga mangingisda. O yan, bigyan ng ayuda. But everyone else suffer.
Well, that's correct. Yun nga, ang sinasabi ho natin dito, pag nag-suspend, hindi naman natin sila, kung hindi naman ho nila kailangan tanggalin ng buo, pwede naman. Pero malaki pa rin ho yung epekto po nito eh. Kaya, ibig sabihin, wide-ranging po yung impact nito. Hindi lang ho, siyempre sabi nila, we have to do a targeted subsidy, no? Para naman, sinasabi nga, kasi pinagbabanggahon nila yung mayayaman, mga may kaya, may sasakyan, at doon po sa mga mahihirap. Pero, syempre, anong gagawin natin doon sa mga namamasukan na hindi naman ho tricycle driver, na hindi naman ho transport, nasa transport sector. Pero, hindi naman ho sila mayayaman din. Meron lang ho silang sobrang pera para makabili ho ng sasakyan. Anong gagawin ho natin sa kanila? Etong mga to, nagbabayad ho ng buwis to. Etong mga to, nagbabayad ho ng income tax din naman. Hindi ba? So, ano hong gagawin natin sa kanila? So, and I think to be very, very clear about ito pong sinasabi, we're gonna be losing 72 billion pesos if you suspend excise taxes, no, on petroleum products. I think there are many ways, no, to save. Kasi alam po ninyo, una, ang pinag-usapan natin dito, ay di wala na tayong pera kasi tinanggal nyo na. Pero alam po ninyo, di bawasan ho ninyo yung spending kasi alam po ninyo, malaking bahagi ng budget po ng ating pamahalaan talaga naman hong underutilized eh. Hindi ba? For example, yung pong DPWH, meron ho silang 90 billion na merong delay o hindi nagtuloy ng mga proyekto. Mas malaki ho sa 72 billion yun eh. Hindi ho ba? O di wag niyo ituloy yung mga ganong proyekto. Ang sabi ho ng BIR, 500 billion ho yung lost to tax leakages due to illicit trading. Halimbawa, on tobacco. Hindi ba? O di ang gagawin ho ron, kung tanggalin yung 72 billion on petroleum excise taxes, galingan nyo ho yung tax collection ho ninyo. Hindi ba? Di nag-abot-abot din ho yung nawalang 72 billion kasi nakuha po ninyo from the tax leakage na hinabol po ng tax agencies po natin. So, kumbaga, mahirap ho yung talagang tinutulak ho tayo with mathematics. Pero sa dulo, pag nakita ho ng taong bayan yan, pwede naman pala. Hindi ba? Bakit ho hindi ibigay?
Well, the president himself has said that on his first few months. We will right-size government. Yung batas pala, hindi pa pala na ipapasa for government right-sizing. I just read it this morning that it is one of the bills that this current Congress hopes to pass. So, wala rin talaga.
Yun, so ano ho talaga, there are many ways. Ang sabi nga ho natin sa kalsada, hindi ba? Pag maraming, kung gusto, maraming paraan. Pero kung ayaw, bahala kayo sa buhay nyo. Hindi ba?
Maraming dahilan.
And that is not how government should work. No? And we had seen it. The president has intervened on rice prices. There is no reason for the president not to intervene today on petroleum prices.
What happens to us if nothing changes? Ano ang forecast mo? You have Infrawatch. I'm sure you guys are talking to a lot of private sector businesses and even government. What do you think will happen if this problem is not addressed with determination?
Well, I think it has reached a point that Congress itself, the House Speaker himself, has been forced to intervene on the matter. No, and this is an ingredient that we had not seen before. And if Congress as an institution has a real resolve to basically make sure that petroleum prices will be affordable by removing excise taxes or VAT, malaking bagay ho yun. It has such a great impact on the lives of many Filipinos. Like what I said, it is a 25% reduction in the prices of petroleum products. Almost 20 pesos per liter po yung maitatabi po ng ating po mga pamilya pagka ho nagtanggal po ng buwis sa produktong petrolyo.
And more importantly, yung economy gagalaw, businesses gagalaw, hindi magtitipid, hindi magbabawa sa schedule, and hindi magtatanggal ng tao. Anyway, Terry, thank you very much, Mr. Terry Ridon, attorney. Attorney ka, hindi ba?
Tama po.
Okay, Attorney Terry Ridon, thank you for joining us once again, and I hope next time you'll have a better schedule para humaba yung ating usapan. But nonetheless, God bless you and keep it up.
Maraming salamat. Magandang umaga.
Okay, that's Attorney Terry Ridon of Infrawatch, and yun po, they're one of the few who are really trying to push for the removal of the excise tax on fuel, kasama na yung VAT na 12%, and wag nating kalimutan yung 6 pesos na bioethanol. We'll go for a quick break, and when we return, we come back with one of our favorite columnists here on the program for his analysis regarding this same problem. We'll be right back here on Agenda.
It's not the first time that the Finance Department warned against the suspension of fuel excise tax. During the Duterte administration, former Finance Secretary Carlos Dominguez said the suspension would actually benefit the rich and not the low-income households. House Committee on Ways and Means Chairman Joey Salceda also cautioned the calls for excise tax suspension. The congressman brought up again his proposal from back in the 18th Congress, where automatic cuts or increases in tax will kick in depending on oil prices. If the average means of Platts Singapore price exceeds $80 for 3 months, then reduce the excise tax by 3 pesos. Once the price is below $45, then increase the tax by 2 pesos. Aside from the excise tax on fuel, Salceda previously called for the government to improve excise tax administration for luxury goods and so-called sin products. Let's further assess these alternative options on today's agenda.
Bienvenido Nonoy Oplas is a columnist at Business World. He is also the president of the Minimal Government Thinkers, a free market think tank in Manila.
Okay, welcome back to the program, Nonoy Oplas, and I'm sure you will have a lot to say about our topic for this morning, Noy.
Yeah. Good morning, Cito. Good morning sa mga nakikinig.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, about the excise, proposed suspension of the fuel excise tax, I support it. In fact, I oppose I oppose the DOF plan since 2017-2016 to impose a tax on fuel because I believe that fuel is a public good and not a public bad. Mga traktor, wala na kasi ngayon nag-aararo ng Kaudi Carabao. They use tractors, tapos then use combined harvest dressing, etc. Irrigation pump, trucks, bus, etc. Lahat gumagamit ng fuel. So if you impose a tax on diesel and other fuel products, you are making the cost of farming and food production higher. Kaya hindi kayo magtataka kung bakit there is high food inflation kasi the taxation has distorted the cost of farming and food production. Kaya sabi ko itong mga nagsasalita against high inflation, food inflation, sila rin yung nag-support ng fuel tax imposition in 2017 eh. Sabi ko I think they have no moral authority to complain about high inflation.
Okay, so let's focus on that issue. You are saying that if we have part of the reason we have high food prices or food inflation is because of the fuel component, which the DOF would like us to believe only the rich will benefit if we lower the price of fuel. But you pointed out tractors operate on gasoline or diesel. Bangkas operate on gasoline or diesel. And then the most important thing in the logistics chain of agriculture, tricycles. They all operate on gasoline and they're all affected by this, not to mention yung trucks and jeepneys that deliver all of the farm goods into Metro Manila and other points.
Yes, yun nga, you raise the cost of food production, you raise the price of food, and therefore you should not wonder why there is high food inflation. Pero yung propose nga, I think that there is also a reason for Secretary Jokno to oppose the fuel suspension because ang laki talaga ng utang natin eh. The budget deficit ng utang natin, an annual borrowing natin until 2019 was about 800 billion pesos a year until 2019. By 2020, 2021, 2022, we were borrowing about 2.25 trillion pesos a year times 3. And I think it will be the same for 2023. So ang laki ng budget deficit, laki ng borrowing. Pag nag-propose tayo ng suspension or revenue reduction in some place, dapat kasabay may katabi kaagad. And I support the proposal by the earlier speaker, si Atty. Terry Ridon, na dapat magbawas ang spending. So if going to reduce revenues by 73 billion pesos per quarter, it should be a corresponding reduction in spending by about the same amount. The other thing, so the proposal number 1 is to identify ano yung mga spending that should be cut. And the second proposal is ano yung mga tax exemption na dapat hindi binibigay. Kasi marami yan eh. like for instance, the 12% VAT, ang daming mga exempted sectors diyan. Kung pwede, ito suspend the suspension or the exemption from the VAT, magbayad sila. And also the third is yung leakage, yung smuggling, yung tobacco smuggling alone. I think yung kay Congressman Salceda is 30 billion pesos a year of tax losses. Ang kay Congressman Nograles may estimate na between 31 to 60 billion pesos a year. So kay Commissioner Lumagi, up to 100 billion pesos a year of tax losses from tobacco smuggling alone. So if we can reduce it maybe by 50%, we should be able to save about 25 billion to 30 billion pesos a year of additional revenue.
Okay, Nonoy, you're the expert in the room. Now, all that money that's being borrowed annually, sabi mo, 2.3 trillion a year.
Yeah, 2.25 trillion a year for the past 3 years.
Okay, where is it? Saan napupunta? Because, you know, our airport is still the same. Our piers are still the same. The roads, especially here in Metro Manila, alam mo, dati, you know, you have gone out of Metro Manila, you're already in the province dahil ang kalsada baho-baho. But now, coming from the province, I know when I'm in Metro Manila, when the road is becoming like a mild off-road terrain. So, where is the money?
Yeah. Essentially, it went to huge public spending. Like for instance, noong 2020, marami ng negosyo nagsara, pero yung sa gobyerno, sweldo nila from national down to barangay level, tuloy-tuloy, salaries, bonuses, allowances, lahat binigay. So doon lumaki. Tapos ang dami mga libre ngayon, like for instance, yung free, dati yung sa state universities, you still have to pay. Ngayon naging zero ang payment, naging full subsidy. So lumaki na naman ang spending diyan. Tapos ang irrigation, dati nagbabayad diyan, ngayon naging free irrigation. Ang dami naging freebies. Tapos nag-expand pa yung conditional cash transfer, dami pa kung anong binibigay. Ang nangyari, palaki ng palaki yung spending, ang revenue hindi humahabol. Kaya utang lang ng utang 2.2 trillion a year. So kaya I support this 73 billion pesos suspension in fuel tax, but there should also be a corresponding reduction in budget or spending by about 73 billion pesos per quarter or even higher, and to lift the exemption or this exemption from VAT and other taxes by many sectors in the economy.
Okay, now how should we go about this? Because if you ask me, I would probably tell viewers, magalit na kayo. Because clearly, the members of Congress are reacting because their constituents are complaining. And of course, palapit ng palapit yung next election. By next year, campaign na yan for the 2025 election. So they want to make people happy. But I'm very disturbed by what you said. Am I right in saying we have become a welfare state?
Yes, we are an unnecessary and irrational crying hard welfare state. Kaya nga sa welfare state, the politicians are well and the taxpayers pay the welfare. So I think we are becoming alam mo yun, yung parang yun ang naging corrupt doon Cito, you know. Education is government responsibility, not education, healthcare, housing had been removed as parental responsibility, ginawang government responsibility. That is very unfair. Dapat this should be back to personal responsibility pa rin. Hindi pwedeng pakuya-kuya-kuya ka kasi ang education ng anak mo, government responsibility. Ang healthcare niyo, government responsibility. Ang housing niyo, government responsibility. No, you should take personal.
Yeah, but you know, we're also paying taxes. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to be on the opposite side of that. I'm paying taxes, and at my tax bracket, I certainly appreciate na I get my senior citizen privilege or I get my medical coverage. Malaking bagay sa akin. But is it really an issue of government giving everything free or correctly applying benefits to taxpayer? Kasi katulad yung senior citizen card, a lot of people, even senior citizens have said, medyo parang abuso na. 6 kayong senior citizen o tayo, pupunta tayo sa restaurant, lahat tayo maglalabas ng senior citizen. Ano pa kikitain ng restaurant? That sort of thing. So like parang correcting instead of, just generalizing the welfare, yung ayuda.
Yes. Oo. Kasi yung walang katapusan yung ayuda eh. Dapat ang ayuda that should be time bound. Lahat ng ayuda, even state university, I support that all state universities should be privatized, no? And you spend more money on basic elementary and secondary education. That's where public spending should be devoted. And to remove all subsidies in tertiary education, or you can convert it from, say, if you have 100 billion pesos a year for state universities, you convert that into a education voucher, so that every tertiary students, university students will become scholars, whether they are enrolled currently in private universities, they become scholars through the education voucher.
Now, okay, going back to this issue of economic solutions, I pointed out to Attorney Ridon that this oil price hike is not going to stop. Parang nananaginip pa yung iba eh. No, we can apply this suspension for 3 months. And I said, you think the Arabs and the Russians are going to lift or bring down the prices in 3 months? They're not.
No, they're not. They're not.
It is their economic gold mine, and it is their weapon. They've weaponized oil.
Yes. Yung sa spending, I think that yung sa MUP pension reform, kasi ang ginawa ng Congress, there was practically little reform kasi indexation is still there. Tapos ang mga pension, many pensioners are receiving 150,000 a month, no? Tax free, whereas when they were still in active service, they were paying taxes. So ang MUP pension alone, which should be zero, is now 164 billion pesos a year. Yun nga, kung pwede sana yung MUP pension na nasa Congress, magbayad kayo kasi sa inyo naman yun eh. So the other is, you mentioned it, the government right-sizing program, marami pang agencies who are duplicating. Sa ang lalaki ng sweldo sa gobyerno, nagugulat na ako eh.
Is there anyone who actually watches how much fuel the government spends? Kasi nung isang araw may nasundan ako sa Kalayaan Avenue na yung high ace na bagong-bago na more than 3.5 million, and napansin ko kasi may bangga sa puwet. Nung natingnan ko yung bangga, nakita ko government plate. Eh sabi ko, wow, ang sarap naman ng buhay ng mga ito. Ako, hindi pa ako nakakasakay ng ganyang ka-high class na sasakyan. Sila, pinababangga na lang nila.
Totoo. Kasi tsaka napansin ko, marami abuso sa gobyerno. Like for instance, eskwelahan dito sa anak ko, may Navy vehicle na Philippine Navy vehicle, ginagamit pang hatid sundo sa anak nila. Tapos doon sa soccer clinic naman ng anak ko, Air Force vehicle. Tapos yung driver nila naka-uniforme pa. So yung sweldo ng mga pati yung gasolina, pinapasa sa taxpayers. They should not do that. Kaya marami ring abuso sa gobyerno, mga parang burara pag nagastos. There should be corresponding reduction in public spending para you can accommodate the reduction or suspension of oil taxes.
Okay, what's your worst case scenario if we don't succeed or the government doesn't make radical solutions regarding this fuel price? Anong worst case scenario? What's going to happen to business, to economy, etc.?
Inflation will remain high. Ang impact talaga nun sa inflation kasi bumaba na tayo from 8.7% last January this year. It went down to 4.3% last July. And then it went up again to 5% last August. Dapat kasi ang inflation natin bumaba na tayo na sa mga 3 to 4%. Pero sumipa ulit mainly because of the increase in fuel prices, and that's why the call to suspend oil tax is really justified, provided there should be corresponding reduction in spending. Kasi ang 2.2 trillion, alam mo binabayaran natin Cito sa interest payment alone? Last year, 2022 was about 500 billion pesos, and this year 531 billion pesos interest payment alone sa laki ng utang natin. Kaya
And
dapat talaga
gusto pang umutang ng Department of Finance dahil sabi
Oo.
nila, kayang-kaya pa, okay pa, wala pa tayo doon sa danger zone. Parang
Oo.
gusto pa yatang madisgrasya bago magsabing teka-teka.
Totoo. Pero kasi the Department of Finance only borrows because there's huge spending. Kasi parang sabihin nilang DepEd, we need more money. Sabihin ng Agriculture, we need more money. Sabihin ng DILG, we need more money. O saan kukunin yun? Kamot ulo si DOF. O teka, ganito lang ang revenues natin. The expenditure is 5.7 trillion pesos, but the revenues only 3.5 trillion pesos. Saan kukunin different? Uutang.
Okay, let's go for a quick break, Nonoy, and when we come back, continue our conversation regarding inflation, interest rates, and the fuel price here on Agenda.
Yes.
Okay, you're back here on Agenda with us, Nonoy Oplas, columnist of the Business World. Nonoy,
Yes.
what kung hindi pwede yung suspension of excise tax? What can be done?
Yes. I think we should pursue that, but there should be a quick identification saan kukunin yung spending cut. Ang nisip ko doon yung free tuition in state universities, kasi marami naman estudyante sa state university, mga mayaman, like for instance sa UP. Ang problema ng UP, parking. Kasi dati mga maliit na kotse lang, puro SUV naman nakaparking doon. So this student, they do not deserve free tuition. Dapat magbayad sila. So to quickly identify, for instance, the suspension of free tuition in all state university, we can say we can save something like 20 to 30 billion pesos a year. The suspension of free irrigation, etc. The
Okay.
suspension of other unutilized spending. Pag nakita na-identify natin yun, then we proceed with we will tax suspension.
Okay, well, thank you, Nonoy. Gotta go. We've run out of time. Last
Yes.
minute. Maraming salamat. God bless you, sir.
Salamat Cito.
Okay, let's now go to our closing blessing here on Agenda. Please roll it out, Gab. Proverbs 22, verse 4, the reward for humility and fear of the Lord is riches and honor and life. Thank you for joining Agenda. Please keep it here on One News.